One of the most frequently asked questions to people like myself is, when are these regulations all coming down? When is the FDA going to rule? What's going on with all this state stuff we're hearing about? Regulation is now. And the regulation that's going on now in a lot of cases is nonsense. It's being based off of false information, and it's being pushed through hastily with no science. And if you don't think regulation is now, go to the internet, look it up. We have statewide vaping bans, countywide vaping bans, citywide vaping bans, and it's even going to villages and other small areas, and some of that includes outdoor areas like parks and things. This is getting out of control. There's not even any science to prove that vaping may be harmful to others, and we're not going to be able to go to the park and walk our dog without leaving our vape in the car? That's insane.
Here in Erie County, we have a vaping ban where you cannot vape indoors. I don't vape indoors. Do I support this? Absolutely not.
Some of these vaping bans that are already being enacted include vape shops, which means a place that is only available to adult smokers won't be able to let their vapors vape in the store.
If you let them do one thing to you, it's just going to go downhill from there. More and more is going to come. Vaping indoors is now. Tomorrow is taxes. The next day is flavors. It's just never going to end.
If we want to try and help someone figure out what's wrong with their particular hardware, we're going to have to go outside on the sidewalk to let them try and puff it. This is nuts. We're not asking for much, but we're asking for sensible legislation when legislation does come. Some things are going to be a necessity. Minor bans. We support minor bans, right? No, we don't support minor bans, and here's why. Minor bans, when they're presented by our opposition, are loaded with things that will be bad for our industry. Does our industry want to sell to minors? Absolutely not. But the fact is, if we support a minor ban that was proposed by our opposition, there's going to be things loaded in that will come back to haunt us. Some of these minor bans, it'll be obvious. New York State a few years ago, they tried to pass one. Part A, minor ban. Then they amended the bill. Oh, here's a Part B. No selling of any nicotine products. Oh, cool. So you're not banning the minors. No one will be able to buy it. And that's just the obvious one. Most of these minor bans are coming up with stuff written into it so that they'll be able to tax us. And maybe it doesn't seem obvious like that, but legislation of any kind, unless it's proposed by us, is the first step towards taxation. It's the first step towards legislation that doesn't make any sense for our industry because we are not harming consumers like the tobacco industry was for so many years.